This episode is sponsored by Chapman and Company.
Hi there and welcome to The Coffee Grinds, hosted by Mug.News. We are your baristas, Justin Krug
and Caitlin Clays. We have a great menu today that highlights impressive student entrepreneurs in Middle America.
So grab a cup of coffee and let's get to the grind.
What is up? Welcome to Coffee Grinds, hosted by Mug.News, where we interview young entrepreneurs, founders, and startup creators. I am your barista, Caitlin Clays, presenting our flavor of the day, Dante Reminick. So let's get to the grind. Hello, Dante. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Caitlin. Thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. So why don't we go ahead and, see what you're working on here in the entrepreneurship community?
For sure. So I have sort of my toes dipped into a few different projects. I go to the University of Minnesota, and so at the University of Minnesota, we have a student-run venture capital firm called Atland Ventures, which I've been a part of for coming up on 3 years now. And that has been an absolutely incredible experience for me all around. I tell everyone with complete confidence that I've learned way more from Atland than I have during my 3 years in class, which is awesome. And it has really, really propelled my understanding of the entrepreneurial community, of the venture capital community, along very, very far. So very thankful to Atland for doing that. In addition, I'm also the sales director at a SaaS startup here in Minneapolis. We help growing companies essentially automate their social media because it's a pain in the butt for everyone, and we know that. So very heavily involved in that. Things are just starting to get ramped up there. So also excited about that project. And then, a few other little things here and there, just sort of trying to get involved in. Lately, I've been trying to work with a few different blockchain startups on different things, and really just trying to get exposure and knowledge and, connections really anywhere I can, because I think that's the best thing I can do right now.
Mm-hmm. So you're already super hands-on involved. And it's the same thing. I remember, like, in my college career, it was the extra activities that I did where I really got to learn what it was like in the real world setting.
Okay.
So definitely I'm right there with you on that, like, perspective as well. So then what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so my entrepreneurial journey started when I was 13, and most of my entrepreneurial journey, from there was very, very social entrepreneurship oriented. So when I was 13, I started my own sort of entrepreneurial, socially focused venture that helped provide micro businesses to kids in East Africa and, help them sort of break the cycle of poverty through those micro businesses. And I worked on that for, I want to say 6 or 7 years. And it ended up being wildly successful, and we have it keep going. I'm no longer involved, but the impact is definitely still happening. And then when it comes to my own entrepreneurial journey, I sort of took a step out of that and I stepped into COVID. And in COVID, there's a lot of opportunity to create real change. And so a friend of mine and I started a very community oriented online tutoring company that sort of scaled from just being just working with kids at the high school that we went to working with kids from all around the country. So that was also really fun. But in addition to that, I've sort of always seen entrepreneurship as a tool of empowerment and as a means of making change. And I think that comes a lot from my background, with that social entrepreneurship side of things. So that's sort of how I've always viewed entrepreneurship, so that when I go out and I try to get involved in different projects, it's very, very rarely, projects that are not trying to genuinely help people with some problem or another. I think that, all entrepreneurship should be boiled down to the problem that it's trying to solve. And for the most part, having a startup or some other entrepreneurial venture whether it's venture capital trying to fund the startups or the startups themselves, right? Your goal is to make people's lives easier. And I think that's something that's often overlooked in the community, is that, what at the bottom of things, startups and entrepreneurship and the entire ecosystem is really meant to try to help people in one way or another. And I think that should be a little bit more focused on as well. So that's sort of my entrepreneurial journey. Like I mentioned, right now I'm involved in various organizations, but when you boil down those various organizations, it's always meant to do good.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So right out the gates, very involved in your community. That is really cool to hear. So regarding the tutorship, is that for high school students that you predominantly focus on, or college as well?
Well, it was mainly just a sort of a COVID era project. But what we did is we connected, seniors in high school or college students with some younger kids who are often having trouble in school and with that transition, because when we started it in March of 2020, it was, right when everything blew up. Teachers didn't know what to do, students didn't know what to do, parents didn't know what to do, no one knew what to do with online learning. And so we thought that we could sort of step in there and make a difference, and we really did. And so that was an incredible thing to be a part of. Right now, unfortunately, we decided to stop that just because kids are going back to school, and there are various other ways that we felt that we could make an impact other than that. But it was definitely an awesome experience.
So with all of these various projects, Atland, in addition to these side ones, tutorship, everything, are there any upcoming events or news kind of within these projects?
Yeah, so Atland is, first of all, going to start recruiting in fall. So if you attend the University of Minnesota and you're interested sort of in entrepreneurship or venture capital or anything within that ecosystem, I highly, highly encourage you to apply. It genuinely, put my life on a completely different path, and it has for so many other people within Atland. So highly recommend Atland. Shameless plug there. In addition to that, Atland is going to be participating in the Twin Cities Startup Week. And, besides Atland being there, it's an incredible opportunity to meet a whole host of amazing people, both from the entrepreneurship side of things and the venture side of things. Great ecosystem here in Minneapolis. So highly recommend that you check that out. I'm pretty sure that you can apply online. If you just look up, Minneapolis Startup Week, you'll find a slew of information on it. So highly recommend that. Other than that, there are a few projects that are in the works with a few different side pieces, but I don't think that they're solidified enough yet for me to promote them. So we'll see. If I come back, hopefully there'll be more.
Well, definitely a thing of entrepreneurship is knowing how to pivot and roll with the punches. That's definitely been proven with this whole COVID situation and things being up in the air and everyone being flexible. So I feel like completely understand that. So then my next question is, you are plugged into the University of Minnesota. You're plugged into that community, Atland. Are there adequate resources provided for you, whether that be funding, mentorship, organizations? Where's your head at with that?
For me, I've always been a big proponent of there's always, enough out there if you go looking and you know how to find it, right? So for me, I've spent a lot of time actively pursuing resources that can help people in the space. And so I know that they're definitely there. It's just a matter of getting exposure for those organizations and making sure that we can connect the right people together. I have a friend who's also in Atland who's working on putting together an entire network of student-run VCs, which is really, really cool. But as a student, I think that there's one thing that's often very much underlooked, and that's people are so willing to help you as a student. And, when you understand that, it makes it a lot easier to go ask for things, right? Because you can go and reach out to someone on LinkedIn or email them or call them or text them, and they will be very, very, very willing to help you, which is something that's really, really powerful. And I think, after you graduate, that impact sort of diminishes a little bit. But there are definitely resources out there. There's, venture capital funds that are student focused. If you're a student entrepreneur, if you're, in student run VC, there are VC positions that are, for sort of the first time offering positions right out of college or internships for college students with previously, never really happened. right? And so there are all these incredible resources, both for funding and for, incubating and everything. It's just about, going out there, knowing how to find them, knowing where to find them, and most importantly, actively pursuing those connections, because people are going to be very, very willing to help you.
Mm-hmm. Right on. And so, what was that question that I had after following up with that? Oh no, it slipped my mind. Completely slipped my mind. Oh no, I remember. So I think a lot of things young people struggle with, and this is me speaking from past experience, is there's a lot of gap between confidence of, oh, this person's way more higher than me up on the food chain. Is it going to be okay for me to reach out to them? Do you have any advice on that confidence building in order to reach out to the people you look up to and ask for help?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's totally normal. And you're absolutely right to say like, oh, this person knows so much more than me, or, oh, like I know nothing in comparison to this person. Like I've been working with startups and with VCs from all over the world for a few years now. And I've just come to the conclusion that everyone knows more than me. Just anyone I meet is going to know more than me about things. And, really in order to build that confidence and grow, you just sort of have to accept the fact, like, it's not your job to know everything. It's not your job to be the smartest person in the room at all times. And so to sort of have that humility to say like, oh, this person is a lot smarter than me, that sort of opens the doors to being able to learn from those people. So like yesterday, I was on a call with a founder of a company that just raised like, $7 million. They're rapidly scaling, really, really successful. And she was asking me these questions. And when I answered, she just sort of said like, well, actually, you're wrong. I was like, oh, cool. And so we sort of had a discussion about, what was wrong about my statement. And I learned a lot from that. And so it's okay to be wrong. It's okay not to know that stuff. But the more that you put yourself out there and ask for knowledge and ask for help, the more that you're going to get back. So if you feel like you're having, trouble with the confidence to reach out, that's okay. That's normal. Just go do it, because it's a lot more important to be uncomfortable and to seek that knowledge and to seek those connections than it would be to just, stay where you are and not grow.
Mm-hmm. I really like the comedy of the idea of not jumping in the pool and someone being like, oh, I know you're scared to reach out to this person. You push them into the pool. Do it anyway.
Yeah, very, very big proponent of just jumping into the pool or jumping out of the nest.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are running out of time, but I have one last question for you, which is, if you or your business were a coffee, what would you be and why?
I think that I would be an Americano, probably. I'm a very simple, straightforward person. I don't need a lot of fancy things in my business, or my ideas are very rarely complex, and the organizations that I'm part of are very rarely complex, but we'll definitely give you that caffeine boost, get the job done, energize you a little bit. And, when you need something to wake you up, we're the people that you go to,
Yeah, right on. Being a past barista myself, I definitely am familiar with those Americanos, definitely getting the espresso right to you. But one side question, do you put any like cream or flavoring or anything in your Americano?
Yeah, so like everyone in my family just drinks like just black coffee, straight, nothing like that. I have a really big sweet tooth, so I put, creamer, milk, sugar, whatever it is. Like the sweeter I can make it, the better, but sometimes I'm hesitant to say that because, some people in my family are like, oh, just drink the coffee,
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely like to throw in a few things in there.
Right. I mean, I just have to say it. This is a totally biased opinion, but when I see people, or when people have ordered an Americano and I'm like, you don't want any flavoring? It's like, no, just the espresso and water. I'm like, oh, those people scare me. But
yeah,
they know what they're doing.
They do. I respect their game. I respect their coffee game.
Yeah, I respect the strength, 100%. Well, that is all the time we have for today. So thank you so much to our guest for sharing more information about his blend of hard work. You can find out more about what Dante does through the links in the menu description, or you can go to mug.news to see his featured article. Make sure to leave a comment and follow mug.news for more hot takes like this one. We will see you next time at the Coffee Grinds.